right? So it's about, creating this consistent cycle that I can go through so that I can worry about today and I can get the results I need today, but I can also do the important work of setting out for tomorrow and next week and next month and etc. It's a good question. And I think that for me, there was a very distinct moment very early on in my life where I realized, I guess, even if just a predisposition for communication. And I remember it was when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I was with my mum and my brother in Brazil. This was before we learned English and came over to Australia. And I remember that my brother, well, we both ordered what the equivalent of, Happy Meals at Burger King. I don't remember the exact name of the meal, but it was where you get the little toy, right? This is an important part of the story, the toy. And at the moment, they were having these like Scooby-Doo toys. And I remember, I got a very specific toy that I wanted and I started playing with it. And my brother got a different toy that he already had. So what I did is I took the toy out of his box, I opened it, and I started to play with it innocently, right? I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. And then my brother, realizing that it was a toy he had, he didn't want that toy. He wanted to exchange it for a different toy, but because I had already opened it, we couldn't exchange it. So he started to cry. My mom started to go off at me. She was like, Pedro, you opened your brother's toy. You're not meant to do these things. Go swap it. I'm like, Mom, we can't swap it. I opened it. Of course I can't swap it. She's like, go figure it out. Go swap it, right? Knowing full well that I wouldn't be able to do that. So I did. I took the toy and I went up to the counter and I was like, hey, can you please, swap this for a different toy? My brother already has this one. And of course, the guy told me, look, buddy, we can't swap it. You already opened this toy. And I remember in that moment, I looked around and I noticed they had a display. They had a display of the toys that they had right next to us to show off to the customers, right? And in that moment, I realized that the only toy missing from the display was the one I had in my hand. So as a 5 or 6 year old boy, I look at this and I'm like, okay, well, I can see this toy is missing from your display right here. So why can't you just do me a favor, right? Take the toy, put it on the display, since it's missing from the display anyway. You guys would have to take another one and put it on there, and then just give me a new toy, different one, that I can give to my brother that's crying over there. And I could see the thing was computing in his head. He looked around for a sec, he realized that I was right, and he was like, you know what, okay, I'll take the toy, we'll swap it for a new one. And then we swapped it. I walked over to where my brother and my mom was eating, and I said, hey, I got you the new toy. And my brother just looked at it. He was 4 years old at the time, so he was like, how'd you do that? And even my mom couldn't believe how I did that. So and I just remember in that moment, my mom was dumbfounded, and she started saying, oh, you're gonna be a politician, you're gonna be a lawyer, you're gonna do something. And I think that was her way of saying, hey, like, you can talk, basically. So that was a big kind of, I guess, a sliding door moment for me to realize, hey, like, I have a predisposition towards this, how can I use this for the better, I guess. I think the one question that fuels what I do every day is, what about tomorrow? What about tomorrow? Because for someone like me, and once again, it comes to understanding myself, I'm someone that's a lot about the now, about the today. Like, I take action now, I want things done now, so that later I can go do more things or do other things and, focus on other things. So, but I think that one of the most important things that I've come to realize is that what I do today is basically preparation for tomorrow and preparation for the next days. So for example, when it comes to sales, right? The sales I get today are important, but it's not as important as making sure that I have sales appointments for tomorrow, or that I have enough leads to dial tomorrow or the next day, right? So it's about, creating this consistent cycle that I can go through, so that I can worry about today and I can get the results I need today, but I can also do the important work of setting up for tomorrow and next week and next month, and etc. I think that, in the things that I do specifically, it takes a level of leadership, because being in sales and being in sales leadership, you always have to be the person that's asking the questions and coming up with a solution. And I think that in sales and in many things in life, you've got to be a problem solver. You've got to be a problem solver for your customer, and you've got to be a problem solver for everybody. And coming from the leadership position, I think that by me being the problem solver that answers the question, it's basically going to wash down to the rest of the organization, to the rest of the people that look up to me, and that, whose actions are based on my decisions. And it's going to help guide them as well and be a North Star for what they do, which to me is very important. I think one thing should be, don't forget to take care of the customer. Don't forget to take care, not even just the customer, but the person on the other end. One thing that Tony Robbins always says, and it really sticks with me, is you have to make the customer your hero, right? Your goal should be to make the customer a raving fan. And I think, and I see a lot of misconceptions, specifically with sales, that a lot of people have to come in and you have to get all these techniques down and these closing strategies and scripts. And, I do believe all that's important, but I think that if you come at it with the sole perspective of creating a raving fan, making a customer your hero, making them as happy as humanly possible, there's no reason for them to look elsewhere. I think for me, there's a few facets of what I enjoy the most. A being the proximity, so being as close to people such as yourself, Sam, Demian, Jessica, Diane, I could go on and on about just the multiple amazing people that you can just watch and learn something from every single time. I'm always a learner. I'm relatively young. So for me, that's probably the best thing, just being around so many amazing people and learning. But the other facet of that is I feel that, I have a unique opportunity in Speakers Institute where I'm also facilitating and I'm also helping others learn in ways that, I'm helping them with something that I'm specialized in, but they're in the top of their game in their own way and in their own respects. We're not teaching people that are, out of high school, or students, or people that are, somewhat starting out in their careers. We're teaching people that are literally, C-level executives, for example, and we're teaching them an upgrade. So there's proximity in that sense as well that for me is very valuable and rewarding. I think an inspiring great leader is someone that leads from the heart. And it's just something you can feel when you're working with them. I think that you can feel the people that are leading with emotion, but justifying with logic in a sort of way. Like they lead you in a way that feels right. And essentially they make you want to work for them instead of making you work for them. And I think it's an important distinction that, helps us identify the managers from the leaders. And for me, examples of this would be within Speakers Institute itself, such as yourself, Craig, people like Sam, Demian, all of these people that I look up to as leaders. And just people, one of the things that I have to mention about yourselves specifically, that's probably something that I look up to, is just the organization and the level of consistency. which is something that I am still implementing at a higher level in my own life. I think 3 songs. I think one that comes to mind is A Girl from Ipanema.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça, ela menina que vem e que passa.
It's a Brazilian song. It's a very laid back song. And I think it's just got a good energy. And I like it. I like the fact that it's been translated to, however many languages, and it's just known all over the world. I would say that's one of them. I think that another one would probably be Ed Sheeran, but there's a few Ed Sheeran songs that come to mind. I think that Ed Sheeran himself I just like the way he puts out music, and I think his energy itself is something that I very much appreciate. And I think that another song, I thought about this beforehand, but the main thing that kept coming to mind is Ed Sheeran, A Girl from Ipanema, and some Justin Bieber songs as well. The thing is, for me, I feel like a lot of the songs that speak to me are songs that are very emotional, such as the A-Team from Ed Sheeran.
White lips, pale face, breathing in snowflakes, burnt lungs, sour taste.
And there's Justin Bieber, Love Yourself.
For all the times that you rain on my parade, and all the clubs you get in using my name.
It may be a bit abstract, but I think that for me, like that song specifically, the Love Yourself song, basically it sort of speaks to me in a way. I don't know, I haven't heard much music like it that actually is about loving yourself, because I think many songs out there is about the relationship with a man and woman and things like that. So I just think that it's a good reminder to be able to focus on yourself a little bit. I think the main one would be 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. It's a book that I've read and reread and revisited and just gone over it so many times, because to me, it's just a pattern-shattering book. That's how I would explain it, in the sense that it takes every assumption that you've had, and it was good for me at the point that I read it, because it was when I was 18 years old. So I had just built a lot of those patterns and assumptions about what the real world is like from school. And then going into that book, it basically shattered everything. And it's a book that essentially forces you to question everything, forces you to question every assumption, not only in life, but most definitely in business. Because how can you achieve, as he does in the book, and as he details, $80,000 a month with 4 hours a week. In fact, he got to a point where he was working 2 hours a week, but apparently 2-hour work week didn't work as well as a title. So he went for 4-hour work week. So to me, that was absolutely amazing book, and there's ideas from the book that I use to this day in almost everything that I do to make myself more efficient and just overall better. Recently, discipline. That's one word that I would say, just for the point of where I am in my life, has shifted my thinking a lot. And reason being, I had this struggle with the word discipline and the word freedom, because everybody wants freedom, right? Or at least I believe everybody wants freedom. I want freedom, and I think a lot of people do as well. And I think there's this kind of dissonance, or at least a perceived dissonance, between freedom and discipline, right? I want the freedom of waking up in the morning and doing what I want, but to achieve that, you need the discipline to wake up in the morning and do the things that you may not want to do, so you can build that lifestyle. So to me, I've kind of got to this point by the help of some mentors, such as Jocko Willink, who's a Navy SEAL, and he wrote a very good book called Extreme Ownership, and another one, Dichotomy of Leadership, which I haven't read yet, but he talks a lot about this and about how discipline equals freedom. And to me, that's been a big mind shift. So for this, I would have to say the word discipline itself.